My father was a part-time saxophone player, so he wanted me to play the clarinet. I wanted to play the drums, but pretty soon I was, getting pretty proficient on the clarinet. I had took a liking to it, and then soon after that, because of big band music in my school, I picked up an alto, and that started the whole ball rolling. And I heard Phil Woods, I heard Cannibal Adderley, and I heard Train. It was all over. John Coltrane. I was off and running. So I started playing in clubs literally when I was in 10th or 11th grade. I remember my first gig. My father had to drive me to it, and it was with an accordion player and a drummer in a bar up in New Hope, Pennsylvania. And my dad sat at the bar and listened to me try to get through Misty, and that was my first actual professional gig where I got paid money to play, and I probably was in 11th grade at that time. But soon thereafter, I was in a myriad of different little bands, and those were professional gigs. And when I started going to Eastman, that was when I started doing a lot of shows in the Rochester area, backing up Tony Bennett and Peggy Lee and people like that. And then I played with Chuck Mangione's orchestra at the time. That was a big experience for me, and just did a lot of different kind of shows, Icecapades, Circus, Barnum and Bailey Circus. Playing for a circus was very challenging because I had to play probably about 5 or 6 instruments, and talk about finding the right reed for the clarinet, and maybe having the right reed for the E-flat clarinet, and finding the right reed for the soprano and the alto, and then having to switch to piccolo and just pick the instruments up and play them. It was quite a challenge playing the circus. It taught me a lot about doubling on woodwind instruments, and having to correctly have the right embouchure ready and to come in at the right time. And playing shows, it's a very challenging thing. Playing a lot of weddings when I was in that period of my life. I'd paid my way through college and was able to afford a car and a nice apartment. My musical life and my professional career has always been mixed of studio work and live recording, live playing, I should say. Touring is something that happens occasionally. They all are mixed together, and so they all have the different disciplines and demands. If I were going into the studio and doing playing on a movie, I would have maybe a little bit different reed approach, because you're playing very in front of very sensitive microphones, and the microphones pick up everything. On a live gig, on a jazz gig, or if you're doing a loud, sort of pop tour, and it's a different set of requirements, and requires different, approach to your reeds, maybe, and mouthpiece setup, maybe a little stiffer reed would be appropriate, and as far as practicing, that's something that is just an ongoing thing. You have to try to practice whenever you can. Most memorable performances, that's another difficult question, because I've been doing this a very long time. But certainly playing with Freddie Hubbard and having that challenge was taught me more than probably anything I've done. Playing with a genius and giant musician like that was very intimidating and very challenging, and rewarding. And playing with a guy like Chick Corea was the same kind of experience, very full of fear and growth at the same time, and excitement. And I've been very lucky to play with some giants in music, or playing with a great singer like Joni Mitchell. That's another kind of challenge, having to play, the right thing in the right time, and sort of accompany people. That's exciting as well. Weird oddities, strange things that happen on gigs. They do happen, and just offhand I could think of recording. Oh, it wasn't recording. It was a live gig in Las Vegas radio show. It was a live radio show. I was playing with Bobby Shew, great jazz trumpet player, and I'm in the middle of a solo, and all of a sudden nothing would come out of the horn. I was like, nothing. It just stopped. I never had that happen before, and I was looking at my horn. I just couldn't figure it out. It turned out a peanut wedged in between my reed and the mouthpiece facing, and that was it. And it taught me to never eat nuts before I go on stage. So, but there's always room for something happening on stage. Tripping on a cable, or getting tangled up in a headphone set. It's anything could happen, and it does.